Welcome to Behind the Knowledge, a best hour podcast where we dive deep into the lives and stories of inspiring coaches from all walks of life. The two hosts of this show are me, Pat Barber, and my good friend and fellow coach, Todd Akuto. Each week, we'll sit down with the most amazing coaches we can find, uncovering their unique paths, the challenges they've faced, and passions that continue to drive them. Whether you're a seasoned coach, an aspiring one, or simply somebody who likes listening to stories of how people achieve the success that they have, this podcast is for you. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired by the powerful stories and insights from the world of coaching. This is Behind the Knowledge. Let's jump in.
All right, everybody, we're back with Behind the Knowledge. I am joined by Mr. Todd Akuto, as usual. He's got a little stuffy nose, so if he sounds extra nasally, that is why. But Beyond Todd Akuto, we have Denise friggin' Go Birds Thomas here with us. One of the all-time greats, and we are going to get her story today, as well as her opinions on many, many things, not Super Bowl related, even though that is her little Go Birds logo. I had to ask her what that meant when we came on. Apparently the Eagles are in the Super Bowl. Is that the thing?
That is true, Pat.
Pat's a big sports guy, big-time sports guy.
Yes, and I feel like we just had the Super Bowl. I had no idea that it was coming around again. I thought we were in golf season. I didn't know it was going down. But that's awesome. Congrats, Denise, on your team making it.
Thank you, Patrick.
I got you. And question for you: how did you decide that the Eagles were your team? Because you're not a native, judging by your accent. So how did you go Eagles?
And you're kind of in that area where there's like 4 or 5 different teams that you potentially could pull from.
Yeah. Well, it's your classic Eagles story of like the fans just being really brutal and kind of bullying you into stuff. And I lived there in 2007 and 8, and I didn't like American football. Honestly, I didn't know the rules. I thought it was dumb. I'm like, why are they always stopping? This is stupid. There's all these commercials. Anyway, we would watch football on Sundays, and my friends at that time were like, well, who are you going to support? Who's your team? And I'm like, Manchester United. They're like, no, American football. And I was like, well, I don't have a team. That's like, it's fine, you're an Eagle fan. And that was the story of becoming an Eagle fan. And when I moved up to Massachusetts, everyone obviously was Patriots fans. So you can't argue with somebody that knows nothing. So I would just say things and, like, we beat you. And they're like, yeah, but X, Y, and Z. I'm like, I don't know what that means. We won. And then I ended up falling in love with it.
Dude, you and me argue the same way about football, where I just I pick the opposing side for hey, who's your favorite? Oh, I think those other guys are better. And then just I don't know anything, so it's great to just fight. Just turn the screws.
I'll be like, I don't know. We won.
We won. But it's a shame that you guys think you're the best. Okay, well, that's good. So Denise, we're going to talk your coaching journey and story, and I think it's relatively unique because I don't know its origin. I don't know how you started. I know you've come to be considered one of the GOATs, but I want to know what it goes like from
being a professional soccer player to
you were a professional soccer player?
It was semi-pro. They didn't have a pro league then, so I guess it was the highest you could be, but it wasn't pro as we know it now. I'm old, Pat. I'm old. So.
Same. Wait, so okay. I don't know anything. So where did you start? So you were a soccer player and you played professionally there? That was okay. Tell me where you started.
A football player would be how she knows it.
Oh, we play footy, huh? Yeah,
football.
Let's see it.
Yeah. So, God, I mean, it's when I think back now, I'm like, wow, a lot has happened. But I played soccer. I'll say soccer for our American friends, even though just know that the rest of the world actually calls it football. But when I was 6, I think I first started playing, and I played all the way up till I was 28. And during that time, I played local stuff, and then I would eventually playing on the club teams that you would call it. And I got an opportunity to. It wasn't a scholarship, but it was go to this school that was almost like a feeder to come to America. It was a soccer academy, a football academy. So before that, I was playing for one of the top teams in England. It was Doncaster Bells, classic name, Bells, right? And then Leeds United. And this opportunity came up where I could do school and also play football every day. So I did it. And while I was there, like I said, it became a feeder to come to the US. So in 2000, I got a scholarship to come over to the United States. When I was about 16, 17, I tore my ACL twice, like almost like back to back. It was brutal.
Same one or different one?
Same one.
Oof.
And I was on the cusp of playing for the English national team. Not like, you know, a starter. It wasn't be like I was the one that they would build the team around, but I think I could have had a good run at it. And then I tore my ACL, fixed it, came to the US, got a scholarship. And when I was while I was in the US, I got an opportunity to come back to England to play again in this academy for English national team players. So I was like, you know what, maybe this is my chance. Maybe I'll go back and I'll do this thing. And I did. I left the US, left my scholarship, went to this academy, was there for about 6 months. And then I just had this realization that, yeah, you know, I maybe could play for England. I might like get in the game once in a while, but then what? You know, like, am I going to have a degree? Am I going to have any kind of career? Like I said, back then it wasn't really it like it is now, where these girls are getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I actually left that and asked my school back in the US, can I come back? Can I have my scholarship back? Which is kind of ballsy, but hey, you don't ask, you don't know, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So I asked and they found me a scholarship and they accepted me back in, and I finished out my 2 years at my college out here. And then I got a scholarship to go to Long Island University to do my master's degree in exercise science, but also be the graduate assistant for the women's soccer team, their D1 team, which was awesome. And it was at that point that after that, I got an internship in New York City in Midtown at this sports performance center called Velocity. It's nationwide. It was developed by the Florida State head coach for track and field, Lawrence Seagraves, I think his name is. Lawrence Seagraves, yeah. And he would develop athletes, but they used this program that had multi-directional drills, max velocity, and what was the other one? I forget. There was 3. It's a long time ago. And there was also an Olympic lifting program that ran alongside it, but it wasn't great. Like, no one was really doing it very well. And while I was there running these classes with high school kids, collegiate kids, even sometimes professional athletes, boot camps, this guy would be in the gym and he would always be doing weird stuff. And that guy was Dave Lipson. And this was like back in 2008.
That sounds about right.
He was
still
just
doing
bonkers.
weird stuff.
Yeah.
Camo pants, tank top, you know, just like Chuck Taylor's. And I was like, who's this guy? Like, what's his deal? And eventually I went up and talked to him and just asked him, like, what are you doing? Because he was doing pull-ups with like bandages on his hands. And he just got back from the 2008 CrossFit games. He's like, oh, it's this thing CrossFit. You want to try it? I'm like, yeah, whatever. What is it? And he pulls out his flip cam. I don't know if you remember the flip cam, but a little USB would like poke out the side. He's like, look, and it was the burpee deadlift event at the ranch. It was like 5 deadlifts, 10 burpees, 5 rounds. And these people are just like going crazy.
Just dive bombing the burpees, yeah.
Yeah, just like, bah. Like, you want to try it? I'm like, sure. So we did like a fight gone bad. We didn't have a rower. We did different things, but that was kind of my journey, starting with soccer, then coming to the US and transitioning into like personal training, sports performance training, and then finding CrossFit and then being really curious about what this CrossFit was. But my entire like 28 years of my life was all soccer. I actually ended up playing for the Irish national team in there. So I did a bunch of traveling with that, and semi-pro for the Boston Renegades, which was awesome. So
That's
yeah, then
super.
I found
I mean,
CrossFit.
so I didn't know any of that. Like, that's, I mean, we would have talked footy way long ago. I mean, I appreciate footy way more than American football, but we'll not dig too deep into that on this because it's kind of, it doesn't fit. But when was your first coaching experience? Like, you coaching someone else? Was that earlier on in soccer, or was that footy, or was that like once you became a trainer and whatnot?
Yeah, I always knew there was 2 things I wanted to be when I was little. Well, 3, but the third went away quickly. I wanted to be a truck driver. like
Okay.
a real like, you know,
Yeah.
over the
Yeah.
top Sylvester.
That's legit.
I wanted to be a police officer, but specifically in New York City. Like it had to be New York City, or I wanted to be a personal trainer.
Why is that?
I just love movies. I watch all the movies. Like it looked cool. There's a lot of action. I don't know, but I just distinctly remember being like, I want to be a cop. It's got to be in New York City. Anyway, I was always into fitness. So it was when I was 15, I got the opportunity when I was in high school to do like a work placement. And they assigned me to this place called Body Tech. Oh my God. It was exactly how you would think. It was like all like the white machines, and just your classic old school fitness facility. And we had, now we have programs that are online that you'd have the little wooden boxes and you'd find your name with the card and pull it out and it'd be like, let pull down 3x12. And so I was 15 when I got that opportunity and I did that for a while. And then again, when I coached again, because I dove into a lot
Wait,
into
were you
my
coaching
own.
people there? So like you would run people, like you would find their card and then go and help them with it. Is that it?
When I was 15 doing that work placement, I didn't have any people to train. I was basically just
Okay.
kind of there, cleaning and doing that, helping people find things.
Okay.
But once in a while, they would ask, "Hey, can you help me with this and that?" And so that was the extent of it. And then
Got it.
I didn't really do any coaching from probably 15 to like 25, because I was so gung ho into my soccer career. It was everything. Every minute of the day was soccer. And the first coaching experience I had after that was, God, let me think. I became a personal trainer when I lived in Philly on Broad Street. It was another fitness facility. Again, I didn't have many clients, but that was that. And then when I moved to New York City to do my graduate assistantship, that's when I dove into team sports, and I pretty much ran the strength more conditioning program for the soccer team, the girls' soccer team.
And
That was the first time.
When you were doing that, like I remember my old, and we talked about this before with some other people on here, but my old strength and conditioning was like, there wasn't much coaching. There was just like, here's your program, like, and they just sat in the gym and watched us. Like, were you relatively hands-on, or was it more like you wrote programs, or like, when did you get into the like, or was that an opportunity for you to get in and be like, okay, let me change your movement, let me interact with you, let me do the act of coaching rather than just educating? I'm curious.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was in college, I don't really remember having any instruction either on things.
Yeah.
They just kind of showed us and we did it. But I think so for us, for CrossFit, I can tell you my aha moments when CrossFit hit me as a coach. But prior to that, when I was at Velocity, because they overlapped. I was working at Velocity Sports in Manhattan while also being the GA for the D1 soccer team, the graduate assistant. And the training I got at Velocity, there was a guy there called Kelly Schaefer. He actually ended up becoming the head coach at, what's the school called? It's in New York. Fordham, maybe? Super smart kid, like younger than me, super smart kid, really into like the NSCA stuff, perform better, all the stuff back then that we would all kind of think was the word, but always like way ahead of his time. And he became actually my boss there. So he would train us and professionally develop us on implementing this program at Velocity Sports, which I said max velocity, multi-directional, and what's the other one? Acceleration drills. And we would have programs for each of them. They would have levels. So I don't remember exactly, like level 1 acceleration, level 2 acceleration. And they all built upon another, which was very much like CrossFit when we do our 9 foundational movements. So you had to be really proficient in one in order to do the next one. And he was gung-ho on technique. We did a lot of technique work. So that whole exposure to, body part direction was happening there during that time, but I never packaged it like that. It was just like, right. Technique really matters. So we did a lot of instruction there. That was the first time I ever really thought, I ever really put technique with we're not just working out here, we're actually teaching them how to move.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's actually like, if I'm going to That was my founding too. When I was first watching coaches, I had very technique oriented coaches. The very first ones were like, you got to do this right. If you don't do this right, like it doesn't mean anything. And that set the foundation of like right could evolve over time, but there was so much centered around like there's importance to this movement. And then we build in all the other stuff. So it's interesting. You had a very similar initial foundation of movement of like the technique is super important to this being like part of the program. So I like hearing that was the case there. I wonder how we could develop more people like that, or start more people off with that as their foundation, because I think that does set you up to like evolve what correct is, but to have like a mental framework of like, hey, movement's really important. Let's start with that.
Yeah. For me, it wasn't a coach, like my coach. It was my boss, like my mentor, if you will. He was the one that said, I don't recall prior to that having a coach that cared about helping me with my technique. But as a mentor, he told me, look, if you're going to do this job, you need to do it like this, and this matters. Oh, and it was so intricate. We would be doing shuffle drills, and you want to kind of push off the back foot, and then so you'd push, and then the other foot would come out, almost like you're speed skating. And if this front toe was even just a fraction out of place, it would send the knee in a different direction to this knee, and energy would be going to different places. It'd be less efficient. And I was learning all these things about. So I would look at these kids and they're like got toes everywhere. And I'd be like, hey, bring your toes straight ahead, a little bit more. And that was drilled into me that these things matter. And in the moment, these kids are like, it doesn't matter. I'm like, it does matter. Like, you want to be fast, you want to be fit, you want to beat people off the mark, because they're all athletes. Get your toes straight ahead.
I got to imagine that you experienced that as an athlete, right? Like there's a right and a wrong way to strike the ball, to dribble the ball, to do all of that stuff. Like I think of it, where I became obsessed with doing it right was playing sports. There was a right and a wrong way to do things. And unless you're just the kid that's just naturally gifted and better than everybody else that can do it your own way and still be really good, which is very few and definitely was not me. It was like, hey, there's a right and a wrong way to do this. And if I try to do it right, that's going to give me a leg up on the rest of the kids. And even though kind of similar to you guys, where I don't know that I had coaches, especially in the strength and conditioning, that were very good at communicating how to do things right and wrong, I knew that there was a better way to do things. And I was always kind of seeking that. So it sounds like that kind of drove that with you as well, Denise.
Yeah, honestly, Todd, I wasn't one of those special kids that could just be great at it, but I was pretty good. I was, and it was self-taught. I would just play with my friends and try things. And I don't recall anyone ever teaching me how to better do a Cruyff turn or a step over, or like throw my hip one way and then duck the shoulder to the left. And I don't recall ever having that technical advice from my coaches. It was a lot more strategy and set plays. And I wasn't really good at long ball kicking. They would always call me weak duckling because I just couldn't kick the ball very far. It was the biggest weakness in my game. But I could pass and go really quick. I would get involved in the center of the field a lot, and I was pretty nippy there. And when I was in the weight room, we'll call it that, it was your classic machines. I would do your classic, let's get on the treadmill, elliptical, whatever, hit that, and then do your, like what we say at the level one, that truly was me. I would leg press, I would innie outie, I would do all the things, and I'd then go to arms and bicep curl and lat pull down. I'd finish with abs, I'd stretch, I'd get my shake, and I'd leave. And I was responsible for keeping my level of fitness up. And the only time that was my whole time in England. There was never an emphasis on strength and conditioning in England, ever. If you want, I just played. All I did was play. It was when I came to the US and I came to college that they were like, oh yeah, we do this lifting thing too in the weight room. I'm like, what do you mean? So I would get into the weight room and I was just like the weakest person. But interestingly, people would call me the fittest on the team because I could outrun people. Right. And I'm like, so, oh yeah, I'm really fit, but I can barely body back squat like a barbell. But no one would say, oh, you're unfit, you know.
Which is Like
Yeah.
just as a coach, when you like look at that and you go, this person's so fast and they're so quick and their skills are so good and they're weak at kicking. And you're like, you're not being like, let's get them fucking stronger ass legs. You know, let's like really do these things that coordinate the hips and the legs and the like. It's wild that no one just like saw that potential and was just like, hey, here we go. Especially with your work ethic, like because clearly you were doing this stuff on your own. It's to pass through all those channels and not have it be the. I bet you even look at it now and you're like, damn it, like
I'm like, mother truckers, I could have gone far. And it's funny you say that, Pat, because when I would get it would bother me. It was really a weakness in my game. I mean, I wanted to spray the ball left to right. Corner kicks were always stressful for me because I just didn't have a strong long range kick. And people would tell me, oh, you gotta line your foot up next to the ball a little more. You gotta bend the lead leg. You gotta strike with the laces, point your toe, follow through. It was almost like me trying to get somebody to squat snatch like 225, but they can only overhead squat 185, and I'm saying be faster. You know, I was like,
you're like, keep the bar tighter. It's like you're tripping right now.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
But they didn't know. I mean, this was like early 2000s. You know, it wasn't CrossFit was out, but not really. And
nobody had an idea of this stuff. Even people in positions to develop athletes, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now you make mention of getting exposed to CrossFit from Lipson. You start playing with that a little bit. How do you transition to starting to actually coach CrossFit, and where does that take you? Do you start it in an affiliate? Like, where do you go?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a little emotional at times too when I think about it, because this whole time that I'm working in New York City, I'm on a visa that I'm sponsored by this company I'm working for. So they essentially hold my future in the palms of their hands. Like if they decided they wanted to let me go, I would have to leave the country. And at this point, I'm almost, 8-9 years into being in the US, realizing like this is where I wanted to be. And so I met Dave, and then Dave and I we became best friends. Dave was involved in almost every really great decision I made in terms of my next steps in CrossFit. I love that guy. We were inseparable. We did everything together. So I just became like a sponge because he was already doing it a few years, right? And I just wanted to learn from him. We would sign up for competitions. We would go down to Rob Orlando's gym in Connecticut, over to Jay Lyden's gym. We'd go down to Virtuosity with Keith Wittenstein. We drove all the way down to Maryland together to do the Olympic lifting course with Josh Everett. Yeah, that was fun. We did our level 1 together. We did our level 2 together. So he was just the guide for me. And what ended up happening at my job was that I started to insert CrossFit training into my like adult boot camp classes, which now I was just doing kind of CrossFit. And for whatever reason, I'm not throwing shade, but the owner didn't like it. He would make comments to me. And at this time I was kind of high up in the company and developing others. And I just kept getting demoted. Like I kept getting my pay cut, and he'd be like, why are you kneeling on the ground? I'm like, well, I'm coaching. He's like, that, that's not professional. And things just got really strange and weird. And it got really bad at one point, and I started to get really upset. And I'm like, what is going to happen to me? Is this guy going to fire me? And then Dave was like, you should work for CrossFit, And I was like, how am I going to do that? Like, how am I going to get a visa? I don't know. And he's like, oh, you'd be a great demo girl. Remember, I was like demo girls back then. I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. So I'll try and expedite this story. I met Nicole Carroll in 2010 at the sectionals in New Jersey through Steve Liberati, actually, from Paleo Kits from back in the day.
Hell yeah.
Steve, shout out. And Nicole's like, yeah, why don't you email me? We'll get you set up. And they did. And so I started interning with CrossFit.
Had you coached at an affiliate at that point, or it was just your boot camp stuff?
No affiliate. Like
wow.
I no affiliate, and I would go down to Virtuosity, and Keith would help me because Keith wasn't on staff, but Keith Wittenstein, he knew,
He went to every CrossFit thing ever for the
He's like
first
level 10. It was like level 10.
He had been to everything. Yeah.
I think I went down to like Rob Miller's gym in like Delaware, big sexy, big tall Rob Miller. Anywhere I could get help, I'm like, can you help me? I don't know what I'm doing. So I do my internship, get through, do my second one, get through, do my third at Milford with Joe Alexander was there. And I'm doing the front squat, I'm like doing the thing, and he steps in and I'm like, oh God, this is not good. This is not good. I step back and I'm like, and then he's like, okay, yeah, you can take it. And I come back in, I'm doing my thing. And he's like, hey, Denise, can I jump in? I'm like, God, oh no, this is not going well. Anyway, gets to the end, they're doing their test. He's like, hey, let me give you some feedback. He's like, hey, you're great. You're so great. Like, I think you need some time. Why don't you come back in 6 months? I was like, and I was gutted, right? Because you want it really bad, but I'm like, it was right. I was not ready. I was looking what he was doing, and I was looking what I was doing, and they weren't even didn't even smell like the same thing. Yeah. So I was bummed out. I'm like,
if I asked you what the difference was between what he was doing, what you were doing at that time, what do you think the main difference would have been?
He knew how to correct people. I couldn't correct like the front rack. Right. I couldn't figure out. I'd be like, elbows up, and nothing would happen. I'll be like, good.
Well, yeah, I tried.
And he just could like, boo, 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 root cause, expert. And I'm like, how did he do that? How are all these guys doing that? So I think that was it. That's my opinion, Pat. I'm sure there were many others like, you don't see anything.
I think that's pretty on the nose. That makes sense. Like, you probably had the education, you had the like presence and demeanor and all those pieces, but you just kind of lacked the time under tension in seeing and correcting in a way that would be applicable to that new setting, where like you'd throw something out and it'd just be like, it just didn't work, or it just wasn't as efficient as it could be. And that comes through time, like time and focus. And you weren't even coaching at an affiliate. So it was like, it was hard for you to get those reps. So seeing that done well and then trying it, I don't know, that's cool that you're able to see that difference. Awesome.
Oh yeah. I was just couldn't believe how he could do it so well with everyone. And so he said exactly what you just said. He's like, you're great. You're so great. People love you. You're the right person. He's like, you just need some time. Anyway, I'm driving home, being like kind of sad, but I'm like, it's the right call. Next morning I wake up and I've got an email from Dave Castro, like literally the next day. And Dave's like, Denise, we'd like you to come back for a 4th. Are you available this weekend in Brooklyn, in New York? And I was like, yes, I will be there. And after I hit send, I'm like, wait, how can I go from needing 6 months and do better in 6 days? I was like, well, I'm going to go. I'm going to give it a good old shot. And John Gilson, actually, Pat Sherwood were the supervisors on that one. And I'm doing the day one, and Pat and John's like, oh, you're doing okay. You're doing a good job. Like it's going well. He's like, but here's the deal. He's like, I feel like you're trying to be like these other trainers. Like you're trying to be like the red shirts and teach like them. And he goes, and he's like, you're here because of you. This is some of the best feedback I ever got. You're here because of you. He's like, I want you to go away tonight. I want you to think about what needs to happen tomorrow for you to be you. And it was back then, it was when we would do the med ball clean push jerk. Med ball clean push jerk review we did it all with the med ball. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
We do that review.
I believe it was the circle jerk, as we called it, right?
Yeah.
Big circle, and we all did the med ball clean and jerk. It was good.
And he's like, just go out there and be you. And I was like, I don't know what's going to happen here, but I am going to go out there. I'm going to correct the crap out of these people. I am just, if I see it, I'm going to be on them, and I'm going to love on them and celebrate them. I'm just going to like go crazy. And I did. And at the end, John was like, that was like night and day. He's like, I'm going to give you a thumbs up. And he did. And then that's how, it's crazy, right? And then if you ask Joe now, it's funny because Joe is also like, we always have fun about it. I'm like, Joe, remember when you nearly ruined my career? This is what I say to him. He's like, Denise. He's like, no. He goes, it was a time when they were telling us that they had to be as good as us, like right now. Like they had to come in and be ready to go.
I mean, that was the truth. That's what we were saying then, is like, it was, but what I do love is that there probably was a really big difference when you were trying to be Joe and then when you were trying to be you, but then understanding that you needed to just be the most intense version of you of all time. And so like that, I could see that changing from a single week, you know, from the time you spent with Joe and you being like, nah, you're not good enough, to like John giving you the freedom to like express, because like you had time under your belt in terms of your overall coaching career. You just now needed to like be the version of you that then tried to do the just coach the shies out of people who are in front of you. And it was probably like, it made it enough better to where you could come on board. So I totally see that going down and being a big difference. That's interesting that John gave you that feedback.
Yeah, John too, because John, you know, John, he's very
John's
like
an intense fucking dude. Like,
yeah.
And I don't see him as like, I didn't perceive him as a particularly in touch with people's internal kind of like perception of self and like how they express and stuff like that. That's not where my mind goes with John, but like that's really cool. That's like I wrote it down because I'm like that's really good feedback to give the right type of person, and you were that right type of person.
Yeah, I mean, I did too in that week. I did study a lot. It was cramming like a lot, but when he said that, it relaxed me and I just had fun. I was having fun, where I think on day one I was too nervous and, you know, the goal was so big and I'm like, you know what, let's just go for this.
Yeah.
I think
and you've already been told no.
Yeah. What's the worst that
You're
can
like-
happen?
which
Never
helps,
come
yeah.
back.
I think anybody that's seen you coach or has experienced you coach knows that fun is a great way to describe the way that you coach. Like there's not been a session that I've seen you do or been a part of that wasn't fun. So you get on staff. When do you transition to working at affiliates? I know you've worked at a number of them. Obviously Reebok one, you've been all over the place. So when do you start working at affiliates and what does that look like?
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap in here, but I was working out my first real workout in an affiliate, if you want to call it an affiliate, like quotations, was with Mike Pomeross. Remember Big Mike, Pat?
Oh yeah.
Mike
yeah.
P. Big
Yeah.
dude.
What was his last name?
Pomerowski. He has CrossFit Gotham. He always like calling himself the Batman. Mike P. I just know it, Mike P.
Yeah.
We would train out of. I'll get to your question. Sorry, Todd, but this is important. We would train out of 14th Street Gym in New York City in the Lower East Side in the basement, and it was like one of those places where they all wear the tank tops and the nipples are pointing out, and it was one of those things. And we'd be in the corner, and we would work out there, and we would just kept getting kicked out, like your classic getting kicked out. We moved to a church where we would have to get there early, take all the equipment out. The pull-up bar was attached to the basketball net, and it would move. It was one of the thingies. We would have to run upstairs, run around the city block, and so that was my first exposure to affiliates. Then I joined a gym in New Jersey called CrossFit Tribe. That was with Steve Liberati. I actually went to the games with them on a team in 2010. We finished like way down there. It was
I was
awesome.
competing on teams that year.
You were probably the other end of the table, Pat. We
No,
were holding you up.
We were CrossFit New Zealand, so I competed for CrossFit New Zealand that year on team. It was in between two individual years, so I missed at regionals because I got like destroyed. I wasn't fit enough, and then I went and competed for CrossFit New Zealand's team because I was traveling out there and living with Taz. So we would have competed together. I didn't know we competed in games together.
Do you remember that buddy carry across the football field?
I was just about to say that buddy carry.
It was so hard.
It was so gnarly. Like, it was so gnarly.
After,
and it was
like,
with the thrusters, right?
Chest
oh
to
my
bars.
gosh.
And my partner was like 160 pounds. She had nail marks in her thighs because I was just like,
dude,
squeeze my hips.
So my partner, my partner, Darren, the old owner of CrossFit New Zealand, both my other male partners couldn't really thruster that weight. Like they could barely thruster the load. So all of those reps got tossed onto my shoulders. I was so dead after that workout. That was a nightmare. So
it was
fun,
awesome. Though. Yeah, it was
stuff.
good. But after that, I think my first coaching job, and I could be getting it wrong, was at CrossFit Center City with Erin Davidson. in Philly. We were training out of a squash court. So we'd bring mats out and I would do some coaching there. And I was actually going to work there full time, but my visa got denied and I actually got, I wasn't able to work. So that was like the first experience I had. And then, actually, I was going to work at CrossFit Center City. I was going to go through all the visa stuff and get my stuff that way. And then Dave Lipson again, hey, Denise, I got this job at Reebok. I'm going to be like the head coach of the gym. Do you want to come work with me? It's like, it'll be awesome. And I'm like, Dave, do you want me to come work with you because I'm your best friend and it'll be fun? Or do you really want me to come because like you think you value me as a trainer? He's like, well, it's a little bit both. So anyway, I drive up to Massachusetts. I check out Reebok. And then I ended up being at Reebok for 10 years doing that. So I think that was the first time coaching was at CrossFit Center City. I want to say,
but that was short lived, and so the majority of your experience was at Reebok One.
Yeah, Reebok CrossFit One from late 2010 to 2021, and then 2021. The most of that year I was at CrossFit New England.
New England, yep.
And then I went to Joe Maisley's gym for a little bit because I got a full-time gig with CrossFit, so I couldn't do both the New England thing and the other thing. And I did a little bit of coaching there. And now I'm at CrossFit One Nation in Needham. I coach a few times a week.
So I'm actually curious. This 10-year chunk at Reebok One, you went from, in that 10-year chunk, you went from, in my mind, relative obscurity. Like I was on the West Coast. So you and I never worked together. You and I never saw each other. Like you and I to this day have not worked a seminar together. I've been on staff 17 years and I've never worked a seminar with Denise Thomas. And in my mind, it was like you went from who is Denise Thomas to the GOAT, it like really quick. And I was like, and it wasn't quick. It was 10 years at Reebok. And that period of time, I'm like curious, what were you doing? Like, how did you get so many reps in and so much like, because you started developing everything. Like you started developing coaching development processes. You developed yourself. You became a flow master. Like there was a lot of stuff that went down in that 10-year chunk. So I'm very curious what those years were like for you. Like, cause I'm sure it probably happened relatively organically, but like you went from very much so not working at an affiliate to being at Reebok One. And then you're Denise Thomas, like Denise friggin' Thomas.
Whoa,
like
the DT.
So yeah, the DT. I'm like, okay, what were those years? Like what was the magic there, Denise? I want to replicate that magic for myself and other people.
I think you did, Pat. But it's funny when you say the GOAT because we all know that Steve Haydock's the GOAT.
The GOAT, yeah.
He's the GOAT.
But I've heard multiple people refer to both you and Steve. Like, so this is actually really interesting for me because like, there's a lot of great coaches in this space. And I'm not downplaying anything, but I have unequivocally heard, and even beyond like Steve's great. Like I've heard people, and I love Steve. We're not talking about Steve, but I've heard more people sing your praises as the greatest than like, and I'm talking just like random Instagram comments and people and YouTube, and something about the way you interact with individuals makes you places you very high. And I don't know if you have any insight into this, but like, if I had to ask you what you think makes people so drawn to your style and your like you, like, and you can think about this for a little bit, but like, what makes you so great to others? And I know like, if you had to reflect on it, I mean, you're false humility aside, like you can be humble, you can see these things, but you can recognize your own greatness. You're really good at what you do. And I just like Todd is, and just like I am, but I'm curious how you view yourself. And if you have any insight into why people appreciate so much the things that you've given them coaching wise.
Well, thank you for that. I'm not the best coach. I'm not. And I say I'm not the best coach from a knowledge standpoint, from even experience. There are people out there that know way more than me. They would be able to school me like in a heartbeat. but I know I'm a really, really freaking good CrossFit coach. Like, I get CrossFit. I love CrossFit. And I spent that 10 years studying it. I really did. And being around people that were better than me. I mean, Austin was in CrossFit, Austin Maliolo, who I work with at Reebok, and Dave. They were in it before me, competing, and they were better than me. They knew, and I would just learn from them. And I was, of the three of us, myself, Dave, and Austin, when we were at Reebok, I was the most junior coach. And I wanted to be as good as them, and I wanted to master the things where I was learning from CrossFit, like the progressions. CrossFit seminar staff was awesome because Todd, we were talking about this before, like the fundamentals matter, the fundamentals, master the fundamentals. And we would drill these things with our members over and over again. We would get feedback all the time with CrossFit. And also I would get that Monday through Friday with Austin and Dave, and we would work together. And Pat, honestly, I just worked really hard to continue to build my knowledge so I could be confident. Right. Because there's nothing scarier than, I'm not throwing like a female card, but being a female and standing in front of a class of people with some big burly guys who, like, you better know your shit and you better stand up there with confidence. And the only way I could develop confidence was by knowing. I had to know exactly what I was going to do and how I was going to do it and how long I had. And I couldn't go in there with that lack of confidence, because every session to session, I would just get worse. And we held a really high standard at Reebok. Like we really did, based off what we learned from CrossFit, from people like from you and Joe. And I had to keep learning. And I think why maybe people might gravitate towards me and enjoy being around me is I've done a lot of things wrong. And a lot of the things I've done wrong they're not out there in the public eye, right? So you can learn from them. And I think every interaction I've had with somebody where it's gone wrong, I really reflect on it. I go sit in the office, I go home, and I'm like, why did I do that? And I'm just very self-aware. And I wasn't always, but I'm super self-aware. And I just love helping people. As cheesy as it sounds, I really love helping people. And that connection of just, I'm going to stand up here in front of this whiteboard and I have prepared this for you because I truly want you to get the best out of this.
Right.
And I think it's just a balance of that knowledge and connection.
Yeah. Well, and effort. But it sounds like you have like an authenticity to your presentation. I mean, that sounds like, I've watched you. There's an authenticity to your interaction that you have with any individual, where it's like you genuinely want the best for them. And your reflection allows you to, over time, I think, develop that interaction to be so efficient that you're literally giving people probably exactly what they need, but what's cool, that's underlying part of that, is your passion for the product that you're delivering, which is CrossFit. So you became extremely competent in CrossFit, which gave you the confidence to present and like not have to worry about the material in a way, to where you could just interact with the individual. Like you could come to the person and be like, I genuinely want you to have that. And through my years of reflection on interactions that I've had, I'm going to be present and here with you and be like authentically Denise Thomas. But then also like, what do you need to hear in order for me to give you this information that's so awesome? And I think that just makes people be like, oh, I love this. I love the material and I love how it was delivered to me. And like, that's what it sounds like to me from the outset. So it's like tremendous amounts of hard work on your part, refining your understanding and confidence. And confidence gained via competence. You're good at this stuff because you've done it a bunch and you've researched it and you've failed, like you said, and you've learned from the failure, and to where like you're not worried about failure. You're going like, I know this shit. Like, of course I can refine my information, but I'm not arrogant about what I know. And then I'm going to go like forward and just give these people exactly what they need to hear so that they can also love it the way that I do. And you genuinely want that for people. That's cool. Like, I like it. Good job, Denise.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Pat. Honestly, I love CrossFit so much. I believe in it more than I believe in probably anything in my life. Like it works. And
Yeah.
I think when you really believe something and you present on it, whether it's coaching into a class, whether it's on a call like this, whether you're in front of a group of people really buy into that. They feel it. And you use the word authentic, and I think it's a good word, because it's, if you really believe what you're saying, how do I put it? You don't have to apologize for that. As long as you're not being disrespectful and rude and any of those things. When I talk about it, I just believe it. I truly believe it, and you can't convince me otherwise. It works. And people might put their hand up and say, "Well, what about this?" I'll be like, "I hear what you say. I get it. I don't agree." And when you can come back to someone respectfully, and say, "It's a great point, but here's why I don't agree."
Right.
And you go back to the core of why you don't agree, and then you're having a conversation with respect, where you could have completely opposing views, but you respect each other's views.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful, and it's fun, and people, they just get it and they feel it. They just feel it. And I've tried to deliver things that are not authentic. I've tried to deliver things that I'm like, I don't really want to say this. I don't agree with it, and you can tell like a mile off.
Oh yeah. Well, that's so the reason that you have the belief that you do, I'm guessing, is because you've challenged it so hard. You're not blindly following Greg's words. You're not being like, nope, he said it, so I believe it. Like, you've probably pushed, because I know I've done the same. I've leaned and pushed and bent this information and been like, where's the depth here, and challenge this. Because like the only way to have that kind of belief in something is to challenge it, is to be like, where are the holes? Let me find the holes. Let me lean on it harder. Let me disagree with it. Let me find someone smarter than me to explain these pieces. Like, and I think that that's why we have, like, you're not blindly following it. So when someone says like, I disagree with this, or what about this? You're not being like, you're not dismissing it out of hand. You're going to try to put it in context, and you'll be like, well, does that make sense? And so far, like, I've never been challenged in a way where I'm like, oh, that upends my belief in this. Like in any way, like it's yeah.
Well, that leads me to where I want to go, because we were just having a conversation before we got this, where your actual perspective on CrossFit and on this stuff and what's happening in affiliates has actually changed. And so I'm curious to start going down that route and hear about that a little bit. And I think my assumption when you mentioned that to me was that, being fortunate enough to get a majority of your coaching experience at Reebok CrossFit 1, you kind of lived in this bubble where you were able to put in a lot of work, but it wasn't like every day-to-day affiliate that's out there in the world. And you made the point to me that it, not only that, but any affiliate that's run by somebody that's so grounded in the methodology from people on seminar staff is probably different than a lot of the affiliates out there. So now that you've gone from coaching at Reebok 1, having the experience that you did there with Dave and Austin and all of the development that you had, to now coaching at different affiliates that aren't necessarily as grounded in the methodology as you are and where you came from, what has changed?
I don't know. It's not changed. I don't know if it's changed. I'm not sure if it was ever really established in the first place through no fault, not through no fault, because people just don't know what they don't know. But I believe that any gym that truly follows a CrossFit program, and we can call it the one workout a day. I mean, I'm not against 2 workouts in 1 hour, but it's just got to make sense. But they believed in the fundamentals. They followed the fundamentals. Your gym, Pat's gym, Reebok CrossFit 1. And that was always the way from the very beginning. Like, the air squat mattered. It still matters. It will always matter. And I even hear today, I did something this week with a bunch of coaches, and I heard multiple times, it's like, well, should I just pretend that these guys don't know how to squat? And I'm like, they already know. And I'm like, that right there that's the mistake, is that we don't continue to teach even with people that kind of know what to do. Because
We talk about that all the time. There isn't anybody that already knows how to squat. From one rep to the next, people's feet end up in the wrong position. They don't think about it. Like, to assume that they're like, oh, they've been doing CrossFit for 5 years, they know how to squat, to your point, is incorrect.
Yeah, it's like we don't need to teach it anymore. They've been doing it. It's just squat. I'm going to just have them squat, and then we're going to get a bar. And I'm like, okay, that right there is, one, it's limiting your development as a coach. And two, it's limiting the athlete's potential to get better. And this is big, be healthy forever. Like,
Right.
It's not just, we don't just focus on a snapshot in time of that, like, you know, your area under the curve. Like, this is, oh, you crushed it today. Well done. What about 10 years from now? Because you've got these people that are getting fitter and they're getting heavier and they've got little things happening here and there. And so there's a whole longevity piece. But the, when you really focus on the fundamentals, we'll just use the 9 foundational movements. It's your ability to be able to manage a group well, communicate clearly, have your commands be super sharp, and own the room. You can develop your eye, because now you're calling what you look for. You can develop your seeing and correcting, and this is all done with low stress. It's low intensity, and this could be even a general warm up. And you're able to now implement a plan and develop without anybody helping you. You're not always going to get feedback. So if you just say, hey guys, go ahead and do 10 squats, 10 push-ups and run 200, but you're not using that opportunity to maybe teach something, well, people are not going to know the importance of squatting well, because you're not going to be able to see the subtleties. They're just fine. And you're not practicing. And now you're trying to manage as you get into hit the specific warm-up, now let's teach. I'm like, I think that I can't speak for you two, but I would say, I mean, we did squats, presses, and deadlifts all the time at Reebok. We did push press, push jerks. We did the 9. We had it on the wall. And it's true what we say at the level 1. There are themes in here that when you can see positions and shapes, it doesn't matter what the movement is. It could be a push jerk, it could be a med ball clean, it could be a snatch. When you start to understand that the body is just this like moving thing, and there are positions and shapes, and they have names like midline stabilization, you can see it anywhere. But you guys skip past the fundamentals for whatever reason. I can't say what that is. And now you're trying to identify faults in a snatch, but you've skipped past the air squat. And it seems so, yeah, that's what everyone always says, stick to the fundamentals. I'm like, yeah, stick to the fundamentals. It works. There's a reason why Pat and Todd can get a group of 10 to 12 people and see things in the corner of their eye. And it's not because they skip past teaching an air squat to get to a snatch. So no. I think when I say what has changed, I don't know if it's changed. I don't know if affiliates are able to have the opportunity to do that. I don't know what their business looks like. But when I hear things like, oh, they know how to do it, we don't need to teach that as much anymore, that just raises questions for me as to, well, what's the foundation of your Teach, See, Correct look like, and how do you manage a group? Yeah.
Go ahead, Todd.
Well, just to that point of like going back to the basics and the fundamentals and revisiting them, as Coach Glassman told us, the people out there that are like, yeah, CrossFit's okay, but it needs to evolve. There's things that aren't included in that. And to your point, I feel like it's people that have changed the program for themselves and now don't like what they changed it to and think that the program itself was incorrect or is missing something. Whereas if you go back to the foundations and the basics and you actually look at, old.com workouts and revisiting movement patterns, I think we can all attest that it's not missing anything. Everything that people say is needed is still there, right?
Yeah.
So hear me out. This is just going in my head right now as a thought. When Greg first started this, part of his goal was to undermine the fitness industry as it stood, right? Because what it stood for was selling memberships that people didn't use. So there was a higher cost model that would make it so you paid for it, you used it. In addition to that, what exercise was at the time was isolated movements done with the lowest risk possible. making the barrier to entry so low that anyone could do it, but no one was doing it. So it was this doubling down on a model that was centered around selling memberships that were not used, because fitness was easy because all you had to do was sit on the treadmill and watch a TV, but things that we were doing even worked. And simultaneously, we were focusing on looking different, not actually being capable as humans. So that's where fitness was when Greg started. So he started CrossFit. He built this amazing program, and the goal was to undermine that industry. Now, if I had to take a snapshot of the global fitness industry, I would say that job was done. That type of training and what that is no longer nearly the only thing that's out there. Far more things fall into this functional movement, or you get the F45s and the orange theories, and all that stuff is, in my mind, a million times better than what the fitness industry was in 2000, 2001, and even but those things, while being close to CrossFit and offering a lot more in terms of human development and like I think physiology and psychology, like there's great things there, they are not CrossFit. And we all three of us on this call know that. Now, when Greg first started, we needed to get this out there in a way that was so like, just people doing not what's in the gym is going to be great. And even CrossFit done poorly is going to be great, right? So let's have this affiliate model. Everyone just, get the basic concept and just run with that shit. Just like basic concept, run with that shit. Like that was highly necessary in the beginning. But to your point, Denise, I think we might be at a place where it's out there. We've undermined the fitness, or we've done the job. It might be a matter of refocusing back to being like, and I might get crucified for this, but what if it was a franchise? There's a much higher cost to buy into this, and you have to run the program in a way that makes sense, true to the original methodology. And we're going to assist you in the development of your eye and your coaching and your blah, blah, blah. It's much more expensive. It's much more exclusive to be a CrossFit affiliate. And you don't get to run it how you want. You have to do it as it's written here, which will then elevate because you have to do it as per the word of Glassman, the original founding movements. I don't know. I think there might be something to be said for that. And it's like in your area, there's less total CrossFit gyms, but you're the one that stands out because you're doing it. You're not doing a version of it. You're doing it. Mm-hmm. And if you want to do a version of it, call it something else. Call it Orange Theory. Call it F45. Call it Todd's Fitness Group Class. And we do Strength Metcon every day.
I would join that.
Mayhem Affiliate, like do what you want.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still like the autonomy that I have as an affiliate owner.
I know that.
To do my own thing. But because, to your point of like, hey, you've got to do it this way and this is the foundation. What's cool is that there are different gyms. I mean, DT, you mentioned, okay, you've got Reebok One, we've got Drive where I'm at, you've got Nicole Christensen, CrossFit Roots. I guarantee you we are all doing it the way it's intended to be done, but it is all very different. And that's what's interesting to me is like, I get to do it the way that I want to do it. And I don't know if you were telling me that I had to do it the way you guys did it at Reebok One, that I would like it the same amount. So I would
reflect on that. That's about you. That's not about the efficacy of the program. That's about Todd his willingness to do what other people he wants to do. Todd, right?
Of
which
course,
is the freedom
right?
you've been given up to this point in time.
Great part of the program, right? Which is the point of like
yes, but we're in a place where now it's so mixed up and muddled that we don't know if we can differentiate Todd from turd.
Best comment.
And I'm playing devil's advocate. I've always been of the mindset. I'm the guy who's like, absolutely, the cream will rise to the top. I believe in that whole stuff. If I opened up a gym, I'm gonna do great. I know that for a fact because I know how to do this, and I've never not done it well. I mean, that can be the case, but I think what it does is it changes the overall perception of what we're doing, and I think that's where the interesting part is like. I think there was an argument for that in the beginning, but we're now at a place where we've undermined the fitness industry. There's better training out there, even if it's not as good as CrossFit. But what if to take it to the next level and really separate out CrossFit from everything else, we needed to refine who could deliver it and be more hands-on with that. I don't know. I'm again, not This is not part of Denise. I apologize, Denise, but I'm curious.
No,
your thoughts on
it's a
that.
good conversation. And it does, I mean, you said it before, like, bad CrossFit is better than no CrossFit. And I think the goal isn't to be, I want to make sure this is clear. The goal is not to go out there and just be these technique police where everything has to be perfect and you have to teach the air squat every single day. But my biggest fear is that at some point it just becomes about satisfying people's emotion to the point where things just keep getting changed, to the point where now CrossFit's completely different. And we don't have the fundamental understanding of, yes, variance, functionality, intensity, but and now it's just become a glorified boot camp again. And I say that because I told you I really love CrossFit and it works. And I think if you've got people that, like you were saying, Todd, that are kind of changing it now, I would love to talk to those people and say why, because I bet it's not because fundamentally the program's ineffective, because it's not. It's highly effective. It's likely that, one, you're bored. You're in a different stage in your life as a business owner. Maybe you did the other way of doing CrossFit, let's call it the competition, and now you don't want to anymore. And now because you don't want to, your whole business changes because you think everybody else doesn't want to. But now we're not providing an opportunity for people that want to maybe compete because you don't do muscle-ups anymore at your gym. So I think that as an owner, personally, again, I'm not an owner, but if I was an owner, I would try to remove my emotion out of it and where I am in my life. I'm 45 right now, and I'm not doing things that I was doing when I was younger, but I still go down there every day. I still compete hard, and I still want to get better. But why is now the program changing where people are now starting to say, we're really going to focus on health? I'm like, wait,
We've always been focusing.
What do you mean? What were you doing for the last however many years? I mean, we redefined health. Like, it's your fitness throughout your life. I mean, what have you been doing? And the question for me is, the way that CrossFit is delivered is how people consume it, and then they get this perception of it. We are a health and fitness program, therefore technique work is really important because what we ask people to do is really hard and it's really impactful on what it can do to your body. And if we're not actually stepping back and looking at your overall gym and being like, people's squat mechanics are really good. It's pretty good. We could do some work. People's overhead positions are really good. We're not doing that. Or, oh, wow, a lot of people are not getting below parallel. Like 80% of my clientele are actually struggling with getting below parallel in a safe position with everything else. Now I got to look at the programming. Or I got to look at who are my coaches that are helping these people get better. And the programming and the level of coach and the people within your gym, those things are all connected. And for me, it always goes back to the fundamentals. Simplify your programming. Make sure your coaches can coach the thing, not just get through it, but they can actually help people get better, not just today, but forever. Because the jury's still out for me with this new way. And it's not out for me. It's completely in. And I disagree with how people are programming now for longevity. Yeah. Like, in 20 years, are you going to have these people, I did CrossFit and it broke me? Well, yeah, because you're doing a bunch of muscle ups and running, and then with the last 15 minutes, you're establishing a 1 rep max snatch. I'm like, wait, what? You would have to be in that class. People like you.
Right. That know how to do this stuff and don't need to be taught, and that can warm up themselves and do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think one of the things you said there is such an important piece of, like, people expect and believe CrossFit is whatever we teach to them that it is. And so when we're at level 2s or something like that, and somebody's like, we're trying to convince people that programming that allows for coaching is going to allow you to be more effective as a coach because you actually get a coach. And they're like, yeah, but my members want multi-parts. And I'm like, well, that's because you've educated them to believe that in order to get fit, you need 3 parts to your class. And it's like, is there a time and a place where that you can do that? Absolutely. But should it be that way every day? And if they do believe that, that's either because that's what you've proved to them since they've been in your gym, or they came from another gym where that's what they were taught. And that's not always the right case. So it's like, I would much rather have somebody come to my gym that's brand new, that's never really been exposed to CrossFit, because now I get to educate them on what it is. And hey, we've got days where it's just a heavy day and we're just going to lift weights, and I might get your heart rate up at the end for 4 minutes, but it's not going to be a heavy day followed by a 20-minute AMRAP. Like that's not CrossFit. That's not needed. And here's what this really is.
It is CrossFit.
Well,
I mean, it is, right? It's just not.
It can be.
We are confined to 60 minutes of time, and we have a large group, and we have things that time of transitions, and it's just not conducive. So it is CrossFit. I mean, you can lift and do your workout, like do whatever programming you want, but I'm looking at the efficacy of it from what does it actually look like on the floor, and how long are you keeping these people at your gym?
Yeah.
So, and that's what it's always been for me. It's like I'm not saying it's variance. It's obviously CrossFit, and it's functional movements, and there's high intensity, maybe, unless you've got 9 parts, and then it's probably not
moderate.
Moderate,
yeah, super moderate.
I think what we did, again, to undermine the fitness industry, Pat, was we took average people, we gave them some more athletic movements, and we said, anybody can do this, but here's why. We got technique, we got intensity, and we need to be looking at both of them. And my fear is that the not having that fundamental understanding of how important that is, like for longevity. I know I keep saying this word,
but it's the balance. It's the balance. And I think a lot of people are doing we found out how to get intensity. Let's get a lot of it and only it, like let's just 15-minute. Yeah. You're doing this like technique and intensity. And it's like, these are there on either sides of the teeter totter. They're not one or the other. And it's like, we're really harping this intensity one because it's effective. It drives results, but it also, that's where risk lies, right? So building those fundamentals, that technique is huge. Now, to play on the other side of things, have you guys seen the gyms that do too much teaching and think it's coaching and have boring fucking classes and are like, I just can't seem to grow my gym? And you're like, but I'm doing it how CrossFit said. I'm doing the 1 workout a day. I'm doing the thing. And they're just like, there's this. And I think that you don't do this, Denise, because you're such a people person. I think Todd would be more of a candidate for this because he's such a dry, sarcastic turd. But I think when you were first developing, you probably always made it fun, because that's your medium, right? You appreciate that. So downtime in a class would have been hard. So you would have filled technique and that with back and forth, and they would have been moving and you've been going here and doing the whole thing. But I've seen a lot in my reviews of coaches of people who Todd and I were talking about this today. They demo every movement, no matter how dumb. They do 5 reps of the demo. And then they tell, show, do, check every little thing. Then they'll do 2 reps of the progression. Or they'll maybe do 3 reps, but only 3 reps because 3 reps is what you need to do. And the class feels shitty. And there's no flow. And there's no, all of the stuff, the teaching was right, the seeing was right, the correcting was right, but there's no flow and there's no vibe and there's no, because I think you can take it too far. I think you can take it to this is not fun. People have to want to be there. And even watching the class, I'm uncomfortable. There's so much silence here. So I think that there's 2 sides of that coin where we the people who are just running people through stuff. And then the hard part is people who are doing part A, part B, part C, part D, and then they transition to doing 1 workout a day and they become this. So it's an extra contrast where you're not only is it very different than what we were previously doing, but now there's these big, quiet, everyone's holding positions. They're doing very few reps. The overall volume in class is non-existent because they went from a whole bunch to 1 thing and they don't know how to coach yet. I don't know. I see this balancing back and forth where I'm I don't want this either. I don't want this.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when they do go from all the stuff to 1 thing, the members hate it because they're bored, and then it's the programming's fault. And it's not we say it all the time. It's not the program. It's not. It's how it's delivered. It can be the program. I mean, it can. There can be some really stupid workouts, but yeah. And Pat, I've been guilty of that. I have definitely over-taught before because I love teaching, but I have also been on the other side of that, listening to someone, and I'm hanging onto a barbell for 90 seconds, and I've not done anything yet, and I'm oh man, I think I do that. And then I'm not going to do that because I want to get on the barbell. I want to move. I want to be corrected. I want to load up. I want to get a little hot. I want to take a bathroom break. And I want to throw down. And then I want to go do my life. And I think that balance is really hard, which is why, again, going back to the fundamentals, develop your teaching with something like an air squat in your warm-up. Like, it's like you can get better with this template by doing something super simple. People are going to be squatting. They're not going to get bored for sure. They're going to be down there. Or a strict press or a deadlift or whatever it is, but keep it simple.
Yeah.
And only do it with one movement of the 4 you have to teach that day.
Yeah.
And dial it in and set your thing. But
that's key.
Yeah.
I like the one movement of the 4. Like,
not
all 4 of the 4.
Not all 4.
If you know it well enough, you're going to be comfortable in what you're teaching and you can be yourself, right? That's where it can be like, I'm going to make it fun because I'm going to be myself. So now it's not DT trying to be, Joe Alexander teaching this thing. It's DT being DT. And even as quote unquote stale as the teaching is, the number of reps and the layering of the points of performance, you make that shit fun. And so it's like, now I want to do that. And so it's the same deal there. If you know the stuff well enough to where you know what you're going to teach next, you know what you're looking for, you can just be in the moment and be doing that. And you can allow your personality to shine and make it fun. Even if you teach all 4 of the 4, if it's fun to do so because you're good at it and it's enjoyable, then do it. If you're so concerned about what comes up next and all you're doing is thinking about it, and so there's no jokes, there's no fun, it's just me saying the thing and doing the thing, then that's not enjoyable.
And if I was that person, I would definitely call that out to the class. I'd be like, guys, look, this might seem a little robotic and slow. Please bear with me. I'm just trying I'm trying to develop this blah, blah, blah. I would just be very honest and humble about that, or to be honest. But I didn't tell you guys this story. You would probably be like, God, Denise, how did you even make it through your CrossFit journey? The level 2 back in 2009, the old level 2. I was still not coaching in an affiliate. I've been doing a little bit, right? Show up on day 1. There's Lisa Ray, Pat Sherwood, EC Sankowski. And we're practicing the things we're going to do for the assessment tomorrow. And Sarah Wilkinson was in mine. Melody Feldman was in it. And Dave. And I think that was it for people we'd know. And I'm doing the circles. And it's not going well for me. I feel it. I know it. But anyway, I'm like, I have got to go back and I have to memorize these progressions. I'm going somewhere with this, like, because you said just know and get out there so you don't have to think. So I'm sharing a room with Dave, motel, me and Dave, that's what we do. We're best friends. He's in one bed, I'm in the other. It's midnight on the Saturday night, or I guess Sunday morning at this point. Dave is in his bed snoring, like, and I am sat on the edge of my bed just going, sumo deadlift, shrug slow, sumo deadlift, shrug fast, full movement. And then I'm like, dip and hold, vertical torso, dip, drive slow, vertical torso. And I'm just saying it over and over again. If you were to ask me why I had to do those progressions, I would have failed. But I knew I had to go there the next day. I had to freaking know these progressions. And I even used Sarah Wilkinson as my demo because my demo was horrible. I go into my assessment, Lisa Ray, she's like, so how do you think you did? Lisa, the velvet brick, how do you think
the velvet brick?
That's what we call her, Pat.
Holy shit. I've never heard that, and it's the most applicable thing I've ever heard.
For her, soft on the outside, like hard in the middle. And she's like, well, Denise, we're going to be honest. Day 1 was not good for you. You were pretty much the worst person. Like, she didn't say it like that, but that's how I received it. She's like, but I don't know what you did last night because today you were unbelievable. And I think you had one of the highest scores and I passed and I couldn't believe it.
So legit.
But the point of it is because I memorized the progressions,
right,
I could spend time on actually seeing if it was happening.
Yeah.
And then I could at least give an attempt to correct it. Whereas if I didn't, I'd be thinking about all those things. And back in the day, Pat, when I didn't know much back at Reebok, that's what I would do. I would just learn the progressions. And this to your point about over teaching and it being too dry, I agree. I would, if out of the 3, if teach, see, correct, if you needed 2 out of the 3, I'd be like, see and correct.
Yeah.
Teach last. Hey, push your knees forward, stand. Pause at the bottom, I'll say whatever. Yeah. Yes, body part direction. Is it specific? Are you eliminating errors the whole time? No. Yes. Could it be better? Yes. Just go out there and see and correct. Develop the skill set of seeing and correcting, because somebody that is being corrected and given interaction with will not get bored.
Yeah.
So 10 seconds teaching, a minute moving, 15 seconds, you know?
I was kind of thinking about a rubric for that in my head. Like if you're going to demo every piece of every progression and do all of them, I think you should do more reps. I think you should do more reps. Like just like say it's a pull-up progression and you're jumping on the bar and jump and give me a couple swings. I'd say jump and give me 30 swings. And then you as a coach are walking around because at least they're doing something. Then you get to see everyone doing stuff. If you're jumping up and saying, give me 3 swings, drop down, and you're going 3 swings and back and forth. Now 3 swings with the kip. Now 3 swings, like just make them do more shit. Like more shit gives you more time to see and correct, just like you're saying there. Same thing if you're like doing a dip hold. Okay, dip drive slow. Like just do more total rather than less and then lots of space. I think more total is going to give you time to then refine than less and hope that you see it and look harder. You know, it's like do less reps, look harder.
You need the reps.
And they're never going to be, if they get mad because they're doing more reps, just explain to them that they're here to do work. This is fitness. Like
exactly.
this is
starts at zero.
Like,
it starts at zero. Yeah. Not a 3, 2, 1 go, but over here at the whiteboard.
Totally.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I love it.
I like that.
So good. I know we could go for like another hour on all of this stuff, but we can't
Todd,
steal
I do
all
have
your
one
time.
thing.
What do you got?
And Pat. So I was thinking when I walk my dog in the woods, I do a lot of reflections. I'll like sometimes actually like rant out loud in the woods just to kind of get it out.
Same.
But the other day was actually quite helpful. I was thinking about coaching core values and what are they for each coach, because that should be what informs how you act and how you plan and all these things. And you know, we're always being so hell bent on certain things like timelines, and you know, if you're late, it's unacceptable. And when you said that I've had a different approach to CrossFit and the way I look at it, it's more to do with me and how I see myself as a professional than anything. Before, a younger coach, it would be like, look, this is the stimulus, 8 to 12 minutes. Everybody needs to be here. This is why we're here. And without any kind of consideration about why any person would come to the gym, their own individual journey. And so I tried to find a balance with it. And I came up with, number one, I want them to enjoy it. Like, it doesn't mean they have to have fun. Like, and enjoy it a lot of the time, not all the time. Sometimes you're not going to like it, but there's lessons to be learned that day and we're going to learn them. But I want them to like enjoy it. If they don't, they're not going to come. Second one is I want to keep them as safe as possible relative to the thing all the time. Like my number one rule is don't hurt people, always. So whatever comes with safety. And then finally, it's increase their health and fitness relative to their individual goals, which requires me doing some digging with my people. Instead of asking people to put more weight on the bar because it looks light, going up first and saying, how you feeling today? Like, where you at? And going that route. Because I think I don't like saying I think this is happening, because I don't, but I do know it's happened in me, is where I haven't considered that enough in the past. And it has led me to get frustrated at times in classes with what people are doing or not doing and my perception of what they should be doing, when it's not about me.
No.
It's about them. However, there are some things that just need to happen from a professional standpoint. And these are now how I inform how I'm going to act. And what is less important to me now more than ever is time. And yes, we have to start at 0. We have to finish at 60. But
I mean,
I'll tell you right now,
that's bendable in my mind. Bendable.
Yeah.
60
Me too, Pat.
Miss DT lesson plans. Time's less important. No way.
Yeah, time, not the start and the finish. And even then, like, if there's something really cool happening at the end, and that needs to happen, I'm going to let go. But it's more like, oh, something needs to happen here, and this is not falling within my lesson plan. It's all right. That's less important, because these other things are more important. You know, you can't just throw caution to the wind with times and things. But I've thought about that a lot, because for too long I've gone off a template that is a little generic, really, with like, hey, teaching looks like this, scene looks like this, and it served me really well. But now, in my wiser years, I'm like, oh no, there's more. they matter. Like your people matter,
Yeah.
so explore more. Yeah.
I love it. I wonder if you can do it reverse. Like so enjoy it. They need to love it and have fun there. And it's not enjoy the workout necessarily. It's enjoy the experience they had. Then it's keep them safe. So don't hurt people. So that you need to be making sure they're safe, and then make them better. So like better relative to what they're perceiving as better. In the case of CrossFit, it's usually fitness, but it can be emotional as well. But it's relative to them. So it's like, hey, caring about them. How's it going today? And asking that next question. But I love that as a rubric. I think I 100% agree with that and have that as my lens as well. But I wonder if you can start with that and not be strict with the other stuff. Like, I wonder if you have to, and this kind of goes back to the beginning of like holding the standard and keeping it simple and, talking about, remember when I was saying like both of us having somebody who's really strict on technique initially, like, I wonder if you can start with these without diluting the product. If you have to start a little stricter and then turn it into these, I don't think you can either.
I don't think
you can either.
In fact, I know you can't. And I think this is one of the hard things for coaches is it can feel like we're trying to steal their personality and we're making them robots, but we're not. It's like learning a lecture. Yeah. Any new lecture, freaking learn it verbatim. You are not making it your own until you've given it 15, 20 times. Why? Because this is the system, it works, so that you can start to make it your own. And you don't understand the lecture when you've only given it 5 times.
Totally. Right.
Like truly understand it. And I have some other things that overlay onto this part too, but I don't think that, who knows? I think that you have to be very regimented in the beginning, especially with everything you're expected to do in a CrossFit class. Yeah. But you mentioned standards and something, the fundamentals, and there's these 5, let's call them pillars. People like that, right? They like pyramids and pillars and things, but standards really matter. We know this. Planning matters. The fundamentals matter. Consistency matters, not for the athlete, but the trainer. Be consistent in how you train. Make it become second nature. Consistency is also clarity, and clarity is really, really good for people. And then finally, quality. And if you are hitting these 5 things, standards, planning, fundamentals, consistency, and quality, you're going to be in a good spot. Yeah. It hits everything. But we always talk about your why and, your values. And I'm like, for a long time, I didn't have any values. I mean, I thought I did, but I'm like, actually, I don't know what they are. And these were what I came up with for coaching, because you can subcategorize things too, but.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And the only way. You
should ask your people behind the knowledge, I don't know what you call them.
Knowledge pro, yeah.
Yeah. Ask them what theirs are, their coaching values.
Coaching values. Yeah, we did a journal session to start off the year. So it was like I had a few pretty deeper like journal prompts, and we just hopped on an hour call and they spent an hour journaling through like 5 prompts. So they have like a few of these. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, but I would definitely utilize exactly what you're saying. It sounds like I got to talk to you more. We should just talk offline a little bit more, because I think you're in a similar headspace of trying to conceptualize the last 20 years of your life as a coach and distill it down for people to eat from. Well, to like, I think I there's a lot there. And when you care as much as we do, there's a lot to think about. Todd, on the other hand, I don't know what he does with his time.
Don't think about anything. And I definitely don't care at all.
Stone cold coffee guy.
I don't care at all.
All right. Well, we don't want to take your entire life away, Denise. So where can we find you if people want to come seek out Denise Thomas?
Canton, Massachusetts, the basement of glory. Beautiful. Come down anytime. No, just I guess my Instagram, Den Thomas 7. Although I'm trying not to be on it as much, so I apologize if I don't get. I grayscaled it. Everything on my phone is gray now. Mm-hmm. Trying not, but yeah, just there, or Denise.Thomas at CrossFit.
I gotta teach you how to do this one. That's what my.
Oh yes, I do want to do that. But you know what I had to do that? I had to get an app to do that.
Yeah, you do. It's called Dumbify. And then there's also
Yes.
another app called Unpluck that can block stuff out. So happy to show you if you want, but it's definitely
I'd love to see
helpful.
it. Yep.
All right. Thank you, Denise. We're going to let Todd go. He's got to poop.
Yeah, I'm dying.
All right.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Behind the Knowledge. Now, if you want help developing your coaching and to learn from us directly, check out the Knowledge Pro. There we host live calls with our coaches every week where we discuss content together and work on skills to improve our on-the-floor coaching ability. To learn more, you can head over to besthouroftheirday.com/the-knowledge. And if you found this content helpful, we're going to be releasing new episodes every week, so subscribe to the podcast and share it with a friend. Thanks again for listening, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.